Hello and welcome to Let's Play the game that needs no introduction because pretty much everyone and their grandmother knows about this game, but I'm gonna introduce it anyway with Super Mario Brothers. But today we're not playing the original NES 8-bit version, no, instead we're gonna play the Super Nintendo remake. A collection of the first few Mario games with a graphical update and a few minor changes here and there. Other than that, it's exactly like the first Mario game, it just looks better. So let's start off with what exactly is going on here. We are an Italian plumber named Mario and we have to save the princess. Princess Toadstool, also known by the name of Peach, the princess of the Mushroom Kingdom, has been kidnapped by the king of the Koopa Kingdom, King Bowser Koopa. And now it's up to Mario to save her. That's pretty much all you need to know, but the manual of the first game tells us a bit more that Nintendo prefers to ignore. First off, the manual tells us that Mario and his brother Luigi actually are from Brooklyn, a real-life place in America, and that they came into the Mushroom Kingdom by falling into a strange pipe. This is something that's never brought up again, so they can keep this fantasy world and the real world apart. Very, very far apart. The second thing that the manual tells us is that Bowser used black magic to turn all the citizens of the Mushroom Kingdom into bricks. The reason they ignore this is because we break a lot of bricks. So if you take for account that every brick we break is actually a person, we are saving the princess but also committing genocide. And it's kinda dark. But it's a Mario game, I'm not gonna spend any more time talking about the story, it's all about the gameplay here. Though the gameplay is fairly simple as well. Move to the right so you can get to the end of the level before the timer runs out. Really straightforward, but there are enemies in the way. Enemies that can hurt us simply by touching us. Luckily, we can get rid of them simply by jumping on them, and Mario is all about the jumping. But that's not all Mario has to defend himself, let's talk about power-ups. Before you get any power-ups, you start off as small Mario. When something as much as touches him, he dies. But if you hit the right bricks, you can find a Super Mushroom, and when you pick it up, you turn into Super Mario. It makes him taller, makes him able to break bricks with his head, but above all, it keeps you alive, because when you get hit as Super Mario, you don't die instantly, you just turn back to small Mario. But even as Super Mario, the only way you can kill enemies is by jumping on them, but that's where the Fire Flower comes in. The Fire Flower, which we can see right here, the Fire Flower can only be found when you're Super Mario. If you're small Mario and hit the same brick, it will just be a Super Mushroom. But as you can see on screen, when you pick it up, it allows Mario to shoot fireballs from his hands. So you can use those to kill almost every enemy. You can only have 2 fireballs on screen at the same time, but that's never really an issue. But even as Fire Mario, when you get hit, you still turn back to Small Mario, so you technically lose both the Fire Flower and the Super Mushroom. But those aren't all of the collectibles in this game. You can see we have been collecting coins. When you get 100, you get an extra life. There are also green mushrooms, where if you collect 1, you get an extra life. And Starman that makes you invincible for a little while, so you can just run through enemies. But now we're about to touch the flagpole and finish off the level. There are 4 levels in each world and there's 8 worlds in total, so the entire game has 32 levels. The final level in a world is always gonna be a castle level where you fight Bowser at the very end, but if you throw a few fireballs at him, it turns out he's never the real Bowser until the final level. But there are other varieties of levels as well. The first level in a world is always gonna be a normal overworld level. Now we're a level in the sky where it's bottomless pits everywhere. And the previous level was an underground level. Actually, in pretty much any level you can find either bricks that have vines in them or certain pipes that can lead you to an underground bonus room, and the vines also lead you to an up in the sky bonus room. So if you can find those and they're hidden all over the place, you can skip a part of the level and get a whole bunch of coins. Let's talk user interface. We can see a score counter, which I still don't give a shit about. We can see how many coins we have. We can't see how many lives we have. That's disappointing. We can see what world we're in and we can see a timer, how much time we have left in the stage. But what you can see about the timer is that during the stage, not right now, this doesn't count, but during the stage it actually goes down a lot faster than actual seconds. So 16 numbers on that timer isn't actually a minute. Actually, the way the timer goes down, 100 seconds is a minute. Well, I say seconds, but they're not really seconds. One number on the timer is like 0.6 seconds or something. But now we're in a castle level. There's lava and fire bars everywhere, but when you get to a certain part of the stage, Bowser will also fire at you. And then we get to the bridge. If you don't have a fire flower to nuke him with, you can jump over him. Well, you can try to jump over him and then pull the X on this side. The bridge will disappear and he'll fall into the lava and you have saved... Well, not the princess in this case. We save a shitty ass Toad, which is one of the citizens of the Mushroom Kingdom, the ones we aren't killing because this one is not a brick. But many people wish they could kill these because they're sort of disappointed that you go through this castle, you think you're about to save the princess, and then this little shit turns up and says nope! And then you go through another 4 levels and it's still one of these, and then another 4 and another 4, and you just keep getting more toads and still no princess. Unless you use warp zones. There are warp zones in this game allowing you to skip almost the entire game. This is a full let's play, so I'm not gonna use any of them, but I'll show them off in an extra video as always. One of the locations you can find a warp zone was actually in the 2nd level. Oh, and now we have a vine taking us up into the sky where, like I said before, we can skip a small part of the stage and collect coins. Also Mario's face in the background. That wasn't there in the original and it's kind of creeping me out. Neither was the song you can hear in the background. The All-Stars version adds a little song for the bonus room, so I like that. All-Stars version is just better in general, so I don't understand why they don't have this version on the Virtual Console, but they do have the 8-bit version on the Virtual Console. Virtual Console tends to be lazy sometimes. I mean, they should really just have an option to be able to switch between the 8-bit version and the 16-bit version. It is annoying decisions like that that makes me have no problem with using emulators whatsoever. But it's too early right now to already be riffing on companies like I usually am. Especially for this game and Nintendo. Gameplay change, it's time for our first water level. People usually aren't fans of water levels, and I think this is the game that all started it. Then again, this is the game that started a lot of things. Here, instead of the usual running and jumping, and I'll explain the usual controls later, instead you swim. If you're not doing anything, you're just slowly sinking to the bottom, and if you press A, you propel yourself upward. So if you keep pressing A, you'll go up and up and up, and then you sink again. And the problem here is that you can't jump on enemies. And there are never any power-ups in the water levels either, so you use your way to defend yourself. Well, with one exception. If you finish the previous level still with a fire flower, you get to keep that fire flower in here, and you can kill enemies by shooting fire at them. Underwater. You can shoot fire underwater. Something people have been making fun of since '85, so I'm not gonna go on about that. One more thing about the water levels before we leave is when you see a bottomless pit in the water levels, there's actually current. There's force pulling you down, so it's gotta be harder to keep swimming up. So that's something to keep in mind. Now for something we'll actually be seeing again later is that after a water level we get to a bridge level. It's pretty much running straight forward with the occasional bottomless pit, but the thing here is that there are enemies jumping out of the ground, or rather flying fish. They're pretty unpredictable, so that's what you need to watch out for in these levels, so allow me to use this last minute of the video to talk about the normal ground controls. Because it is slightly momentum based, it's gonna take some time to build up speed, and it's also gonna take time to lose that speed once you stop running. You also have a run button, by the way, so when you hold it you run faster. But these kind of momentum controls mostly come into play with the jumping control. And these jumping controls are the reason I don't really come back to the first Mario game all that often. When you jump without a running start, you go horizontally almost nowhere, so it's pretty much useless unless you have a running start. And when you do jump forward with a running start, it's kind of hard to slow yourself down mid-air, so it's kind of hard to make precise jumps. So that in combination with my own recklessness is usually what gets me killed in this game, but especially what gets me killed in the next game. But then in Mario 3 they make that force a bit less, and then in Mario World they make that force a lot less, so I prefer those in terms of control, though because of this one and Mario 3, Mario World is kind of hard to get used to for me, ironically, even though that's the way I kind of prefer it. And then there's the new Mario series, which then goes back to being Mario 1 controls a little bit. But now we're at another fake Bowser, jump over him, pull the axe, have him fall into the lava, and then we save the Toad, which is not the princess, and I'm disappointed, and I see you in the next video. Till then.